Hello everyone! Oh my god, it's another video. I know you've all been excited, all waiting for what I'm going to give to you this time. But I assure you it's going to be something a bit more reserved. I have, unfortunately, I don't know, what's the word? Not unfortunately, no, that's the wrong word to use. I actually had a rather nice day today. I went out on a date with a friend of mine. We went out for hours, spoke for hours, and everything else like that. So, the weekend is now over. I have to go to work in the morning. Am I excited? I don't know, but it is what I'm dealing with right now. And yes, I decided to put a different angle on the camera to capture all of this. But no, I tease greatly. And yes, I actually did fix my mask a little bit. I just only adjusted the strap in the back so I can smile and whatnot, yes, without affecting the eye part of the mask. But I'm here simply to talk for a little bit. It's not something major. Honestly, this is probably a test video. I uploaded my last video and I could not believe how it took 3 hours to upload a video to YouTube. To YouTube? Are you serious? No, and then I asked a friend of mine, well, he's a bit more savvy about technology than I am, and I was like, so, friend, when you have to upload videos, how long does it take you to upload a video? And he has, like one of those gaming laptops or whatever, top notch or whatever. He's like, well, honestly, it does take quite a long time. Even on the laptop, it may take a few hours. I was like, what? It really takes that long. I'm doing this based off of my phone right now. But no, this isn't really, a serious thing. I apologize if my personality isn't, like it was in the last video. I'm a bit reserved. It's late in the night. I have to go to work soon. So this is honestly more of a tester. But I wanted to see how things sort of go. Perhaps making a shorter video, yeah, it pretty much does the trick. I don't know. I'm just putting this out there just to see how it's like. Hello, how are you? Yes. So, I don't know. But we'll see how long this video actually goes, because I know I'm testing it out. I'm testing a whole bunch of things, making sure things look a little better. I decided perhaps the camera being a bit more stationary helps with the visuals of, what you see before you. Yes. So without further more delay, welcome all back, rejects, isolationists, people that feel, a bit weird. You are welcome here, and you are, in fact, family. So I'm so happy to have you again. I am going to speak to you about a little few things I thought about today, aside from the, the absurd uploading time of my first video. I'm going to talk about something that perhaps sort of came to mind, actually. And this later, so I'm trying to keep my voice down a bit. I am living with mundane people right now. Looking around, making sure no one hears me, that I'm not too much of a disturbance of the peace of this house, of this place that I call my home. But it is, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. So, I decided to perhaps be a little bit more educational today. First, I want to, ask you how you are doing. You can't respond, but just pretend you are. Yes, good, bad, whatever. It's your problem. So, I'm going to talk about, something I mentioned last week, actually. Well, not last week. I believe in my last video. The time frame, honestly, it's not going to really matter. Whenever I upload a video, I upload a video. You watch it. Make it bless you. I'm very happy about it. But I'm doing this for me. Mostly for me, as I explained in my last video. But if you like and enjoy it, good for you. And perhaps you might, in fact, learn something. And if you haven't, well, hopefully you have some entertainment out of it. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about... Whoa! Where did that come from? I'm so sorry. No, I'm going to talk about mana. Or perhaps my theories on mana and magic. It's sort of a long thing. I've sort of done my own proper research about it. About, how we practice it, how we do it, why you may see or not see certain things or manifestations in this realm, in this world. And I can explain it in great detail. But for the sake of, uploading something that won't take 3 bloody hours, I might have to dumb it down a bit, So let's start off with magic. Just a quick, just a quick little rundown about what magic is. Honestly, magic is the manifestation of a person's will or mana, Where you get magic from completely depends upon where your source of mana comes from. You can't really have magic without mana. And that's why mana is very important to everyone. Mana is essentially in every living creature, but it can be in certain stationary objects. Certain stones can have mana, certain, objects that people have used to use and leave behind can have mana. Traces of mana. It's like an example perhaps I could give would be the sort of energy a person gives off, whether it's something positive or negative. When you have just that feeling, what you are feeling is the eminence of that mana. And so the mana has to be, you have to learn how to exercise your own mana to be strong in character like me. And you have to be able to be sure in yourself. That is why insecurities of any kind can affect your mana greatly. And so when that happens, the level of mana you have decreases. And so then you become influenced by external mana. Now, we are influenced by external mana all the time. However, when you have external mana that can affect a person's characteristics, that can affect your way of being, that can affect your personality, that can become a bit of a problem. So you have to learn how to channel your mana in a way where it's simply sort of, I don't want to say protect you, that's so, ugh. I think the right word I'm trying to say is that it's trying to hold on to you, build yourself up, whether you call it something like spirit, whether you call it something like chi or ki, or whether you call it, stamina or whatever. Different kinds of people have different iterations of what I am calling mana. Energy is a form of mana, But when it comes to something like magic, magic is something, and it's very different in different realms, In this realm, we don't really see too many of us. We don't really see examples or perhaps manifestations of magic simply because the laws that govern this world make it a bit harder to do things like, manifest certain things and abilities. Each realm has a certain set of rules that govern each realm. The realm from what I come from, there's a lot of things we're able to do. There's people that can fly, there's people that can use, what you might call the force, or telekinesis, and all of those things, in fact, do exist in my realm. But in this realm, in this world that I've come to, the mundane world, there are certain laws that exist in place to maintain a specific balance for which the world was designed for. So because this world was designed for a specific type of existence, the effects, I believe the powers of magic are somewhat mitigated. But however, instead of magic, something else has to substitute the absence of magic. They're going to have the same potency, and that's where science and things of that nature come in. But don't get it twisted. There's a lot of things in science, certain practices, certain things that sort of happen that resemble or perhaps have the remnants of mana within it. But people don't realize that. Like, for example, let me go into the medicine area. Everyone talks about medicine and everything else, but in my world, medicine is simply potions, poultices, or tonics. Things that people, in fact, do make. When you're going to the doctor's office looking for a diagnosis, and you're trying to figure out what's wrong with you, they do a whole bunch of tests, and then they tell you what drugs you're supposed to take. The drugs are a mixture of, derived forms. They could either be nutrients, vitamins, or they can be, herbal in nature. Poisons function on a similar level, and potions can have side effects, just like tonics can, like poultices can. Poultices are mostly things you're supposed to apply to the external parts of your body, so your body is able to absorb it externally. Potions are traditionally meant to be ingested, tonics as well. But tonics they're not really meant to do anything like healing or anything else. They have, certain side effects that some people might like or not like. Viagra, for example, is a tonic, but it can be taken in the form of a potion. So those are sort of examples. People say, well, I'm going to take my meds. I'm going to the doctor's office to pick up some prescription drugs. You go into the pharmacy. But a pharmacy is essentially an apothecary. It's a place that sells potions. But people don't call it potions because nothing magical about it. But magic isn't simply that. It's something a lot more, something special. And so it's certain these outlooks. So when you start changing your perspective, your perception of how things are seen in this world to something of another realm, you start to put certain things together. That's sort of how you see similarities in certain religion, or I guess religious practices, versus things that are paganistic, I suppose, in nature. There are certain similarities. And I won't really get into all that because that's, a whole other thing, a whole separate issue. But when it comes to things like magic, what I specialize in is mostly something known as passive magic. I'm not really sure if many of your kind know, but passive magic is a type of magic that is sort of feeding itself from the mana you have. And so even though you are not externally using any form of magic or perhaps black magic or anything else that you practice, there are things that you are enacting in your life to give you positivity. Things like blessings, for example, or good things, or things like good luck. These are results of passive magic. So when you are living a certain way, a certain lifestyle, you are sort of, influencing positive mana into your life, channeling positive mana, and, pushing out positive mana. These sort of things work in the ethos, in the ether of the world, within the atmosphere. And so what you receive in return is a positive aspect of that mana. It's a type of passive magic. Another way of passive magic. I'm not even sure if I invented this. Perhaps I have. Hello, I'm a genius. No, but you're free to, take notes and things of that nature. Just know that I came up with it. The name is Mediafile. Well, that is the channel name, but you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, these sort of things, passive magic, for example, like what I mentioned before, how people have personalities and things like that. When a person's personality is infectious, you feed off of it. They can either give you energy, they can make you sad, they can make you excited, they can make you do things, they can inspire you, they give you strength when you have none. That is a form of passive magic. But people don't think about it that way. He's like, oh, but when you hear judges on those talent shows that I really hate on TV, we're talking about, there's just something about you. You have this sort of energy. It's infectious. You do things, the way you perform. Like a good example, for any of those of us who saw the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, which I thought was a marvelous movie, depicting the life and the trials of Freddie Mercury. And, for example, the biggest part of the movie was when he does the Live Aid concert. Actually see the actual video. It's quite insane. People see that nowadays, and honestly, you've never really seen a person with that much stage presence. But you see, Freddie Mercury, just for the sake of this example, he had within him a specific type of mana that I suppose was a little bit uncommon in its potency. You see, he did a lot of things in his life to affect himself, but he was doing it for a reason, for a purpose. He had purpose in his manner, in his actions. So he would do things to promote his music, but the reason why he was doing his music is because he wanted to have an effect on the people. So when he goes on stage, he is himself. He is sort of building up his manner, and through the history and through his personality, he's just boom. He's just, it was a marvelous show. And the people were feeding off of it. They were feeding off of him. They really were. It was something quite extraordinary. I couldn't believe it myself when I saw it, but even I was feeding off of a video that is decades old, after he's long passed, and his essence still has mana. It's incredible. It's the same thing with Michael Jackson, for example. So certain celebrities, they have these effects. But even though they're not, knowingly doing anything like this with magic, I don't want to get into this controversy or conspiracies. This is something that is real in this aspect. Passive magic is in fact a real thing. And so a person's mana, their inner energy, is being emanated in their performances, in who they are, whether it's in their visual art, their musical art, even constructing an architecture, a sculptor, all of these things. Even mathematics, scientists, the sort of things, when something makes you feel a certain way, what you are feeling is a side effect of the creator's mana. It's quite extraordinary, honestly. And when you think about it, and when you go out in the streets, when you're talking with your friends, and you feel good about it, that means like your mana is being charged, your mana is still kind of strong. And when you're near someone, and you feel good, and you vibe off of them, a vibe. I really love that YouTuber. The person posted that, what's a vibe? I love him. No, but it's very true. A vibe is another type of mana. It's a type of passive magic. But people call it a vibe. When you're feeling something, and people try to explain it, I suppose, in the most logical sense. But in that statement, there really is no logic to it in the method in which they're trying to explain it. They're trying to explain things in a more scientific way. But in reality, it doesn't really change what it is. Just because you know how, in theory, something works doesn't mean it's not magical. Love, for example, is the greatest example of this. Love is a type of magic, but it is a passive magic. And so the feelings you get when you're near your lover, when you're near the person that you care for absolutely the most, you are feeding off of each other's mana. The mana between you is charging, it's recycling, it's getting you in the mood. And sometimes these manifestations of mana, they go into this ritualistic practice or coitus, which is known as sex. And you create things. You create life, like babies and things of that example. So people, there's a reason why it's called the miracle of life. But it's just an analogy. It's just something for you to think about. So when you're going out, walking amongst your friends or perhaps your family, and you start to feel vibes, and think about what I'm telling you. Think about your mana. Think about your magic. Think about the passive magic. Some of us, very rare, are able to actually channel physical magic. Some of us here, we were able to sort of bend the laws that govern the world or break them. And we can do things that are sort of inexplicable. We're able to access, some people call this, being a psychic and whatnot. And yes, I've had things like visions. I've seen things in the future that have come to pass. I've told people about it. I have witnesses and everything else. It's a type of like premonitions and clairvoyances. All of these things are true. Now, whether or not why or how they happen, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because what matters is the result of what occurred, of what you saw, But but it's honestly, this is a theory in this aspect, but it's something that I've experimented with. Like, for example, I made a recording recently, an audio log, which I'm still debating if I should probably post, but I think I will. I see no issue with it. So what I was doing is, for example, I was at a fast food chain restaurant. I mentioned it in my log, but just for the sake of this video, I perhaps wouldn't mention their name. And I said, I would like a specific item added to my order. And so I had the mind to give them a tip because I was feeling generous. Pahalu, which I mentioned, I name dropped in the last recording, is he's a spirit that I commune with. And so I'll get into more detail perhaps in later videos about it, but I was consulting Pahalu when I was in line, and I was like, I'm feeling quite generous, but then Pahalu speaks to me and he says, hold your money, you'll know why. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to you for a second. So I get my order, I look in the bag, and the one item that I asked for extra was not in it. It was not in the bag. And I go into detail about this in my recording and things. So, but the thing is, you're able to sort of, it's a sort of extra sensory thing. You're able to sort of sense this thing here. And it's quite, it's something to behold really, but forgive me for ranting a bit about, things like passive magic, but I wasn't going to talk about magic, and I'll talk about all the other things, and, things that people seen from movies and everything else, things that are real or not, and how magic actually works versus how, people believe it works based on things that they've seen in movies or perhaps in TV shows. Speaking of TV shows, sidetrack, I saw Cobra Kai, the 3rd season. Oh my God. It's pretty good, actually. These mundane can certainly act in my realm. Oh, they'd be lauded over. They're so beautiful. I love all the cast. Phenomenal job. Well done. Well done. So, it's like I said, I live in a mundane world, but I've grown to love it in certain aspects. And a lot of things I can't stand, like how it takes 3 hours to upload a goddamn video on YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep my voice down. Sorry, but, but there is that. So it is something you should probably consider. And I know I mentioned that this is a channel where I pretty much talk about everything. But, when you talk about something like magic or mana, and people say these certain things don't exist, well, you need to sort of think about your concept of what magic is and how it operates within this world. If you're a person that believes in multiple universes, as there is sort of theories that lie, outside out there. You can look into this or whatnot. You don't have to think, well, if we live, I guess within a diaphragm or like, let's say a globe of some kind, and there's certain levels in that globe that go all the way up. We're on a specific level. You could sort of think of that way as different universes. So when you breach a universe's, veil, like, for example, from my realm to yours with the whole Griffin incident, each of those realms or universes would function differently. So let's say, for example, let's say here, and I have this sort of theory or sort of a law of opposition is sort of what I call it, but it has a different take than what it sounds like. Let's say, for example, in this world, magic doesn't exist in this realm. The sort of magic you see on, movies and things of that nature. Being able to shoot fire out of your hands, conjuring ice and water. It's amazing, But let's imagine that the laws that govern this universe, this realm, make it so that those things don't happen here for a specific reason. Why? I don't know. I did not create the universe. But then if you were to go to a different universe where the laws that govern it are completely different from ours, these sorts of things can exist. It sort of makes you wonder about, for example, when you have people that believe in deities versus people who don't. A deity may or may not exist. But then you have to think about, aside from historical evidence or things that people claim they've seen or felt, if in this universe a god does not exist, you'd have to assume that perhaps in another universe a god does. Or the reverse. We have things like, what's it called? Science, negative energy, or I guess black matter. All of these things, crazy stuff. But we're talking about things that are, in fact, invisible naturally. It was originally something of science fiction or magic, but it does, in fact, exist. We have forces not controlled by man that are spinning around, creating singularities that lead to, maker knows where. But that's just an example of what I'm talking about in terms of laws that govern the universe and everything else. And I could go into deep details about this, about my theories about the laws that govern the universe. How many universes there are is, in fact, a mystery. I have not been to every universe, so hence I cannot tell you. But, if you were to use logic in this sense, to say if something here does not exist, and if there are, in fact, multiple universes that perhaps have a different law that governs it, if such the principle of a law exists, then perhaps a deity does in fact exist, or perhaps a world where, we envision people that can fly, use, magic that we see in the movies might in fact also exist. But it's a matter of, coming into contact with that realm, with that universe. And I must exercise caution when we talk about accessing universes. I can go into another thing in a later video about trying to communicate with beings in a different universe, or perhaps spirits of some kind. It's very deep and heavy stuff. But, this is meant to be something, light, and I didn't mean to get all, drab, but, it is somewhat informative, something for all of us to look forward to, and, and it's incredibly interesting, is it not? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I, for one, am so happy to be part of it. But whether, you believe in magic or not, it is here. It may not be the way you expect it. And perhaps science has some way of explaining certain things, but it doesn't really change what it is. A horse is in fact a mammal, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a horse. It's a creature that runs on 4 legs, and it's a beautiful creature. You have animals that are able to hold their breath on the water for a certain amount of time. You have creatures that can either lay eggs or not. You have creatures that can glow in the dark, create their own light source, bioluminescence, or things like bioelectricity, or anything else of that nature. You have things that can camouflage to look like the landscape. You have creatures that look almost invisible, like jellyfish, that are essentially a whole bunch of organisms together. Something like that. I guess it's like what is it? The oh my God, what's it called? That huge jellyfish, I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, we have a lot of things. You know, bacteria and creatures that can withstand thousands of degrees of temperatures. You know, that's not magic, or perhaps something influenced by it in some way. Then what else could it possibly be? But, you know, that's enough of that. And I know I've talked a great deal about it, and I can go into more detail, but it's a really interesting detail to think about. You know, so what I want you to get from this, and it's, you know, something, it's not as comedic as I would like, but like I said, I'm going to talk about different subjects, and, you know, if it's funny, it's funny. If it's not, or whatever, it is what it is. So, think about this. When you're out in life, you know, whether you are, you know, perhaps, you know, a person that believes in a god or multiple gods, or perhaps believes in nothing of the sort, but you're curious of certain things, how certain things work the way they do, regardless of what is explained or given to you, you have to admit the points that I'm bringing up are quite interesting. I perhaps didn't word it exactly how I wanted it to, but you have to think about these sort of things, and it is incredible. So I want you to think about that. You know, speak with others that perhaps have this idea, this concept, you know. You know, and this is something, you know, to not be alarmed by or scared by. I'm simply talking about the theory of it. You know, what you think about, you know. And like I said before, about the whole thing with, you know, whether you believe in religions or not, in the comparisons with paganistic religions or belief systems or customs, any of those things. If you can even take those things aside, think about the real life things you feel that you felt when you felt sadness, happiness when somebody was with you. Things like love, the effects someone has on you, the effects that music can have on you, perhaps a video game, a movie, anything, a sculpture, a piece of artwork. I have looked at a piece of artwork that's made me cry, and I couldn't explain why. But I was feeding off of the residual manna of its creator. And all of us are creators in some way. All of us are, you know, vessels for this manna, for something, you know. But some of us need to work on, you know, building up our manna, building up our personalities, and you can do it in a variety of ways. But find the way that works for you, that gives you strength, that gives you power, and that, you know, influences you in the way you want to be influenced, in the way you want to live, and how you want to affect others. Some people live under the guise of a specific lifestyle, of a certain type of manner, whether it's negative, positive, or perhaps neutral. And like I said, you know, the way I use manna, see it, it has, you know, parallels to things like chi, energy, you know, sorts of things like that, and, you know, in every sense of the word. But without any more delay, thank you so much for listening. I know I've been rambling on this whole night, and I've been trying to, you know, keep my, what's it called? My eccentricism? Eccentric? I don't know. I've been trying to keep it down a bit, just for the sake, because it is, you know, quite late. But I do hope that this video perhaps has given you some sort of, you know, curiosity about these sort of, you know, aspects. You know, when you meet someone on the street, hello, how's your manner? They'll be like, what? What are you talking about? But you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, and if you find me, if you see me, you approach me, say, hello, how's your manner? I'd say, it's fantastic. I feel quite well. Or if I'm feeling like my manner's a bit low, feel free to send some of yours my way to build me up, and then I shall do to you in kind. So without further more delay, again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy you decided to, you know, watch this video. You know, and if you feel like sharing with other people, you know, then do so. You know, we are here to simply discuss, have fun, laugh, you know, talk shit, whatever. I'm all for all of it, you know. And like I said, everything I'm going to talk about, it's not going to be about subjects like this. Last week, or I'm sorry, I keep using that, you know, that tense, last week. But the last video, I mentioned a brief bit about things like griffins, how they came here, something mythological. Today, I decided to talk a little bit about magic, my theory about passive magic, what it is, things like mana, where it comes from, which I will go deeper into another video if you care to, you know, learn it. But honestly, I'll probably do it anyway because it's, you know, it's for me. Like I said, I'm a bit selfish in that regard, you know, and I can be a bit of an asshole, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm sorry. But everything comes out of love. You know, everything comes out of a sense of, you know, longing and belonging, like we all want to belong to a society. And I believe in the next video, I'll perhaps want to talk about the subject of acceptance and why so many of us crave it, and whether or not it is necessary for us to, function properly in our lives. But that's just an idea. I don't know if I'll do it, but I'm feeling like I should, because it's something a lot of people want and they perhaps don't know how to approach the issue. So I perhaps might talk about that at a later date. But I hope all of you are doing well. You are staying safe, staying healthy, feeding your mana, being a positive force in the universe, in our world, in your church, or perhaps in your collective of whatever kind, or perhaps in your cowl, or perhaps even in your school, wherever you are. Be that force that drives effective mana, good mana, And if you perhaps don't have any good mana, please try to not, put it on others. I know you're very tempted. People that, live with negative mana, and I've met so many, don't know how or why they have it, but, that's just how they function. And so they have no choice but to stick it on to others, and it's a bit of a buzzkill. But I have learned how to deal with those kinds of people, which aren't bad. They're just it's just they're victims of circumstance. And sometimes they're not even victims. Sometimes they're willing volunteers, and other times it's just part of their being. But it's because they look at things in a different perspective. So I've sort of learned through that, and I am still learning. Like I hope all of you will, especially from watching these videos. So, be happy, be well, and remember, oh my God, I'm sorry. Wipe your ass, you dirty bastard.